Okay, this video is kind of a tutorial video of how to convert a normal string of Christmas lights into an extension cord. For my Christmas light display, I typically have somewhere around 250 extension cords. For 2013, I plan on a very big expansion and we'll need roughly around 150 more extension cords. And the most inexpensive way I've found to do that is by converting old strings of Christmas lights that people don't use or throw away or broken or whatever, and just converting them into an extension cord. Since most Christmas lights are plug in end to end, for example, I have a blue set of LEDs here. You can see there's the male plug and then the female end. And then we have the lights that are on top of it. Now this set is a brand new set. It works. And as you see, it can work just fine. But the problem is that, you know, I have extra light sets. I don't want to waste my good light sets, but there are people who throw them away at the end of the season. And in order for me to, you know, really recuperate the benefit of having taken these cords, what I have to do is I remove all of the lights off of the string, and once I remove the lights from the string, there's a couple little things I do that make it a little more safe, but pretty much this is an effective extension cord for 1 up to 3 strings of regular Christmas lights, or you can put probably like 30 or 40 strings on 40 LED sets on a string, but I typically only plug in 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most strings of Christmas lights into any of the channels that are on my display. So we're going to get started and I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to use this set, and starting from this point, what I'll do is I'll unplug, and I'm going to go and find the very first light that's on the string. Now as I pull it in close to the camera, you're going to see that there's 2 wires coming from the male plug, 2 wires, and then you have one of those wires, which is the positive, going into the first string on the Christmas lights. Then you have a second cord which runs the entire length of the string. This connects the neutral cord to the center and the far end of the string in order to complete the circuit. Now, in order to convert this into an extension cord, the first step that I do is I begin to untwist these first 2, and I find the second light and the first light, and I hold them up against each other, and whatever cord connects the first 2, I take my wire cutters and I cut it. Now I've just broken the positive line of electric to this Christmas string. I'm going to cut this way back to the end of the socket. I'm going to leave the bulb intact. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end here and I'm going to unwrap the entire string of lights. What happens after a while is you get some strings that are intertwined between the 2 wires, so it takes some work. Or if you want, you can go the whole length. This is actually coming off pretty nicely, so I just would keep going with this. After a while you begin to develop this little tail of Christmas lights. Well, though it's nice to have it, you can sit here and you can wind this up. That's what I do. What I'll do sometimes is I'll wind this up and then I'll keep turning it and taking it off of here. But at some point this line could get tangled. And what I do then is I just cut this off in the same place, right at one of the strings, and then I set this off to the side. And what I'll do with these later is I will come back and I will pull all the bulbs out. What I'll do now is I'm going to continue to do this, keep removing this, and then I'll bring you back in there. See how it's like split through it there? This is where I would cut it. Instead of having to drag a whole line through it, I cut that little bit out there. Set that off to the side, and then I just pull this and then I keep going. I keep going and keep going. This is probably a 150 string set. These take a little bit longer than the 100 strings. And this is probably about a 40 or 30 foot cord, or between 30 and 40 feet long. So this is a very useful cord. When I come back, you're going to see I'm at a midway point where I have some choices to make. So be right back. I've gotten now to the first junction where whenever I get to the light, there is more than 2 wires connecting a light. So you have a normal string of just lights, and then you come to a junction where there's actually 3 strings, another hot wire, and then another string that connects another wire that joins to the next section of lights on the set. Notice how some sets only half the lights go out. That's because there's a jump set or a jump wire that allows current to pass halfway through, and they switch it off so that the whole string doesn't go out. You can quickly nail down which of the 100 lights are burned out or not working right. And this is what the junction comes to. So what I'm going to do now is, whenever I get to the first junction, this is the first one, and then you got the second one here on my right hand, I'm going to cut this one off really close to the bulb. Just like that. And now it looks like I have a regular 2-chord string. Now we get to this light, the second light. Here's the first one where we cut it. Now we have the second one that has the jump wire, and this has 3 wires. To figure out which wire we're going to cut, we go to the one after it. We pull it up, we notice that there's only 2, and immediately I take my cutters and I will cut one of these 2 wires off. You can cut them both off. Doesn't matter, as long as it only has 2. Now I'll unravel, and it'll lead back to the socket that has 3 wires coming out of it. I'll take this wire here, the short one that I cut from the other one, trim it off. I'll leave the bulb intact. And now what I have once again is I have the original first part of the string, the original second part of the string. And then now I can just continue to unravel the next progression or set of lights here. Okay, so once again we have come to a light that has 3 wires coming out of it. Here's my string of lights. Here is the second wire, and then here's the wire the wire that leads to the next light. You don't want to cut the wire that connects these 2 lights. You only want to cut the one that connects the prior string. So I'll reach over here and once again cut this pretty close. Set that off to the side. Now we have the 2. But this one also has 3 lights, and in order to 3 strings of wire, in order to figure out which one we're going to cut, we need to unwrap this light here, and find the 2 lights that connect these. I'm going to cut this one and I'm going to cut it back to the nub. So these two side by side, once you figure out which strings are connected to their respective sides, like this one covered here, this one connects all the way back to here. So I'm going to disconnect, and now I'm going to keep unwinding and unwinding and unwinding, and once it gets too tangled, I'll cut it off and add it to my pile of spare bulbs. Okay, well, while we're winding down to the end of the ball, the end of the set of lights, I wanted to show you the final piece, which it's pretty much the same as the beginning piece. Once we get to the final bulb, the decision to cut the last wire is pretty simple. You know exactly which one to cut. Now we're at the last light. I'm going to unwrap the last string, and so here's the end plug, and here's your 3 wires. All you're going to do is snip this one back. Now you have this entire set of lights, and well, you have this entire string, and this one actually is if you looked on the floor, you could see the mess of wires. And what you can do with this is you can leave the bulbs in here, because the bulbs will actually, I don't know if I can get a good close-up of this, but the bulbs will actually protect the connection that these 2 wires share, and you'll notice that they go up the same side of the light socket, and they're crimped together. And what you could actually do is you could actually pop this out of here, and once you pop this out of there, it's connected. You could wrap it with some electrical tape, and that's what actually what I end up doing is I end up wrapping these with electrical tape, and I just fold them down over, and I'll take some electric tape and wrap it right around this way. For now, I just wrap it around my hand, and I just start making another ball, like a ball of yarn. And when I'm all done, it looks like that. And like I said, I'll typically go through and I'll wrap some electrical tape around those connections, but there's no reason to take the bulbs out, because, well, the bulbs sit outside all day as it is. It doesn't matter if any water gets in. Well, it does matter if water gets in there. It might short it out. But the other thing I wanted to mention is you do have fuses typically on the male end of these Christmas lights, and like this one, it tells you 5 amps max. This is a high capacity string, so it probably has some 5 amp fuses on the inside. That means you can connect up to a total of 5 amps with this one. Other strings might not be as aggressive. This one, for example, this one says 3 amps max on it, and so it's important to know what you're connecting. Now in my case, I'm only connecting 2 or 3 strings ever to one of these extension cords. Maybe at the most, maybe I'll have 5 strings connected, and at which that point comes, then I will decide to use a heavier gauge wire. Well, I would use something like this, because this will handle 5 amps. So in any event, that's how you convert a string of Christmas lights into a, well, in this case it's a 25-foot extension cord. In this case it's about a 45-foot extension cord. So this saves you, I don't know, I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 bucks. So alright, I hope this helps you guys, and good luck. Thanks. Bye.